Alright, one last review video, middle students, and buckle your seatbelts for this one, because what this does is it takes everything from all three previous videos and it puts it together into one problem. So, first things first, we have an absolute value inequality, or an inequality involving absolute values. Still the same key as the last video. We have to isolate the absolute value, which in this case we are at that point. It is already isolated for us, so we don't have to do anything. And at this step, just like in the last video, we split because there are two directions that we can go from 0, because absolute value is the distance from 0, and those are negative and positive. And the exact same way as the last video as well with the equations, whatever was inside of the absolute value stays the same. And this is where things get a little different. So since it's negative, we're going to have negative 8. Since it was positive, we'll have positive 8. Since it stayed positive, we leave the symbol alone. Now, I left the symbol out of the negative for a very specific reason, and that reason is in order to get the 8 to become a negative 8, we had to change the sign. The way you change the sign is you multiply or divide by a negative 1. And as discussed in video 2, if we have to multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality has to change. So as a result of that, we have to flip the sign. So now it is a greater than or equal to negative 8 as opposed to the less than or equal to negative 8 from the original problem. Whew. Like I said, buckle your seatbelts. So, right here, now we're just ready to solve. And we have the constant of plus 4, so we have to subtract 4 from both sides. So that gives us P is going to be greater than or equal to negative 12, as well as P is less than or equal to 4. So we've solved the inequality. Now we've got to graph it. And on graphing, this is about the minimalist lifestyle here. Just give me the two numbers that you found, negative 12 and 4. Circles over each. Now, since we have the equal to, just like in the inequality video, that means we have to shade it in, solid dots. And the negative direction says P is greater than or equal to negative 12, so it's bigger than negative 12. So all the numbers bigger than negative 12, well, that would be to the right. And then this one says P is less than 4, so that would be every number to the left of 4. So those two go towards each other and they meet in the middle, as some of you like to say. So that is an in-between shading. Alright, now we're really in for it. So, just like in the last video, in video 3 of your review, we have these absolute values. I'm going to put in a box and we have to isolate the absolute value. You've got to get it by itself. So, since the 9 times that box is there, plus 6, we've got to go through the process of getting rid of the 9 and the 6. The first we get rid of is the 6 because it's a constant. So we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. So we're left with 9 times the absolute value, 3n minus 2. It's going to be greater than 45. Now that's 9 times, so the way we get rid of that is we divide. So now we are left with the absolute value. The quantity, 3n minus 2, and that is greater than 5. So we have now isolated the absolute value, and this is where we have to do our split. Negative direction, positive direction. So 3n minus 2. So that 5 is now a negative 5, and that greater than needs to switch to a less than. Whereas the positive, everything stays the same. So same deal, solve it. Let's knock out those constants. Adding 2 to cancel out the minus 2. So 3n is less than negative 3. 3n is greater than 7. And of course, final step, eliminate the coefficient. And we are left with n is less than negative 1. N is greater than 7/3. Now right here, I know it because I've seen you all do it in class, that you're wanting to do a decimal. Do not make that a decimal. Leave it a fraction. It will save you time and it will save you headaches. So in order to graph this, remember the left-hand number is the one that's smaller, since negative 1 is negative and 7/3 is positive. I know negative 1 is going to be below 7/3. And again, we do our circles around the numbers. Now in this case, because it's greater than and less than as our symbols, we don't have the equal to, so we leave the dots open. So this first statement says n is less than negative 1, so it's all the numbers smaller than negative 1. And then n is bigger than 7/3 or greater than 7/3, so it's all the numbers to the right are bigger than 7/3. All right, so that concludes our review videos. Good luck, and I'll see you when I see you.